So, as good Toastmasters, we'll get started. So, welcome to Tips on How to Succeed in Pathways. We've got a great session for you today with three panelists, and I'll start by introducing our panelists. I hope that you've been enjoying the conference so far. There have been some great sessions on, and you probably enjoyed the humorous contest. Well, let's move on. Our first panelist is a senior financial advisor for a health benefits brokerage here in Houston, where he manages an area covering most of Southwest Houston. He served in District 56 as a pathways guide for one of our Houston areas and has led various officer training sessions at District 56 Toastmasters Leadership Institute since 2014. Our panelist has also served as a pathways guide for our Houston area, and in addition, he served as the Area 71 and Area 75 area governor in Oregon in 2012 and 2013. He's been a club mentor for Comcast Toastmasters, and he's presently working on his first DTM. Our panelist is an agency owner for Allstate Financial Services here in Houston, where he promotes Toastmasters and helps develop networking skills that he shares with his company in Houston. Let's warmly welcome Advanced Communicator Bronze PM3 Max Lopez. Max, if you could put your hand up and so we know who you are. Our next panelist is a technical person with a deep love of learning and interest in learning management. Her personal mission is to help others with their personal development through learning. She has served as Vice President of Education in 4 of her 5 years as Toastmasters and enjoys sharing her knowledge of pathways with others. She earned her first DTM in the traditional program in 2018 and expects to earn her Pathways DTM later this year. Let's warmly welcome distinguished Toastmaster Sally Boyd. Our third panelist joined Toastmasters in 1993 in order to overcome her fear of public speaking. Since that time, she has served in numerous leadership roles, including a 3-year term as president of a congregation's board of trustees and as the 2010-2011 governor of District 56 Toastmasters. In 2012, in her quest for knowledge, she completed both her undergraduate degree from the University of Alabama and her certification as an instructor with the Napoleon Hill Foundation in 2012. She's been a full-time real estate broker for 45 years, specializing in residential real estate sales and marketing in the greater Houston area, and has earned Realtor Emeritus status. She and her husband, Stan, work together full-time and are known as the Spouses Selling Houses. She's remained a member of Sugarland Toastmasters because she loves mentoring and is dedicated to helping people improve their leadership and communication skills. Let's warmly welcome distinguished Toastmaster Jan Posovsky. I'll pass you on to our panelists and get the session started.
Okay.
Panelists, the floor is yours.
Sally, did you want to start with what we
yes,
talked about? Okay.
I'll be glad to start. We wanted to share a little bit about our passions for pathways. I think it's safe to say that we're all very passionate about pathways, and we're all active vice presidents education, so it falls in our area. I am especially passionate about helping people to choose their path, to find the right path for them. And once they've chosen that path, how to navigate level 1. Why is level 1 complicated? And if you can get through level 1, especially project 2, you've got pathways down. So I'm especially interested in that, and also some of the technical aspects as well. Planning your path, how you go through it. Those are things that I'm very passionate about when it comes to pathways. Jan.
Yes, okay. One of the things I really enjoy about Pathways is helping people after they've finished their first and second levels, as Sally has mentioned, to help them on with the elective choices. A lot of people become overwhelmed when they realize they don't just have to give one speech, and since they have to give more, they have to choose their electives. So it's a matter of deciding which one really fits with them, what resonates with them, and then helping them think outside the box of ways that they can get creative and fulfill those requirements. Max?
I'd like to say that the thing that really charges me up about Pathways is that helping the members make the most out of this experience. I mean, this is an experience. If you are a lifelong learner like myself, you're always looking at how can I learn new tools I can use in both business and personal life, and Pathways provides that to you. Everything from the electives to doing the external projects, and that the external projects is something that I think is an overlooked, maybe kind of unsung hero, and I hope to talk about that a little bit later on. Thank you.
Soraya?
Okay, so you've got a little bit of an to you. At this time, we'd like to look at some of the questions that you've posted, and perhaps our panelists can start to address some of those questions that you guys have posted. So firstly, let's start with the question, how to handle the same project in different pathways, like communication styles. Who'd like to take that one?
Well, I like to jump in on that one because I see similar projects across different paths. I have 3 paths that I've signed up for, and I'm working on 2. The one thing that I think that maybe it's not covered well enough is that you do everything in context. So if I'm working on presentation mastery, which is where I'm at right now, I'm on level 3, then everything I'm doing is in the context of how I want to be a better presenter, how I want to sharpen my presentation skills. However, on the other hand, if I am doing the humorous one, which I haven't done yet, but the humorous one, totally different concept, totally different context there. You are developing your humorous communication style. That's why I think that Pathways is so rich, and it's such a great thing.
Thank you so much for that, Max. Our next question is, can I choose a new path without taking the assessment? I would really like to be able to look at a variety of paths.
I'll jump in on that one. Oh, Sally, go ahead.
Oh, yes, I am a fan of both taking and not taking the assessment. I feel like Pathways is just like any learning program that you look at, whether it's a college level program or your leisure level program. You need to look at the course catalog first. There are a lot of resources that you can do that, and I highly recommend that people understand what all of the paths are before they choose. And then when you go in, you can either take the assessment just to see what it says, or you can click down at the bottom of the page and skip the assessment, and it will bring up all of those. You can then click on each one, look through them again before you make a final choice. Jan, would you like to add to that?
Jan, would you like to chime in? I know you wanted to say something on that initially.
Yes, sorry, I was having trouble navigating here. I think that one of the things that Max had addressed was the fact that when you are working on a path, that it should be, whatever you're doing should be focused on that particular path's title or core concepts. And it goes the same way when you're choosing the path that you want to take. For instance, I have always wanted to be a comedian or comedian. I love trying to be a jokester, but it doesn't always work out. I chose a path that would challenge me, which is engaging humor. And I suggest that people do the same. Instead of trying to take the easy way out, find something that's going to challenge you. And you have the opportunity to review all of the path descriptions and decide which one you want to take. The assessment will help narrow down your choices based on the things that you like to do or hope to do, but it's ultimately your choice. And even after you take the assessment, you don't have to do the path that's suggested. You can make your own choice.
Max, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, I am, I'm one of those people that doesn't always read instructions very well. So when I saw the assessment, I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. And then I passed that and I looked at each one of the paths and I looked at what are the different choices on there and what I could possibly do. It's just the curiosity thing. My wife and I were talking about that, the fact that I have a lot of curiosity. And so for me, yeah, I might do the assessment later, but for the most part, I'm going to go in there and find something that has the pieces I like. And I think that's one of the great things about pathways. That's one of the things that I think would be good to encourage people to do, especially if they're not certain.
Okay, thank you so much for that. The next question is, what are the true benefits of pathways and how will it help you outside of Toastmasters? I'll leave it open to whichever one of you would like to jump in on it.
I'm going to go ahead and chime in because I see, I've been at Toastmasters for quite a while. I've seen different iterations of the educational program. I'll call it educational platform. And this educational platform, with so many people working longer, so many people, they're on one path and their company decides to go a different path and leave you to go a totally different path. You want to learn new tools, and that's what Pathways gives you. It gives you a way to polish your skills, and then you can take those skills, whether they are leading a team in a company, virtually or in person, or if you are working at the Chamber of Commerce or working with a commission and taking on a leadership role, you get those tools.
Thank you for that. Any other panelists would like to chime in on their own personal experience there?
I would
Yes,
like
Jan?
to. I think it's important to look at whatever path you choose as a progression. The first two levels are very basic. They're teaching you the skills you need to have to learn how to write a speech, how to organize your speech, and how to present your speech, and then also to get feedback and just go through that those basic sessions to learn how to start out. And then as you get to level 3, 4, and 5, it gets more advanced and it starts getting you to really dig deeper into your leadership skills and how to connect with your audience and those types of things. I think one of the most beneficial aspects is working on things such as your high performance leadership project or whatever kind of electives help you to lead teams. And I think that's pretty common no matter what path you choose. And by doing that, you grow as a person, as a Toastmaster, and also as a leader. The most important thing, and we haven't even addressed the mechanics of any of this, is that as you're going through all of these different projects, it's important to actually do the learning. That if there's a module that you need to read through, take an assessment within to evaluate, go through the whole process. Don't just say, oh, I need to give a speech and let's see which which peg does that fit in? Okay, I'm going to put it in this one and then give that speech. That's not how it works. You're supposed to do the work, do the actual project. But if you take it seriously and you do all the things that you're supposed to do and use all of the tools that are given to you in that particular module, you will grow and you will learn. And I'm going to pick on one person who's here attending today, and that's Melba Lee. She's in my Sugarland Toastmasters Club. And we usually talk about the things that she's getting ready to do within the various projects and the various skills that she wants to work on. And I have seen her grab these modules by the horns and do what she's supposed to do. And when she's done with her project, the growth that she's experienced is very obvious to me as an outsider looking at what she's done. So it's a matter of embracing that module and doing whatever it is that you need to do so that you can grow as a leader, as a speaker.
Thanks for that insight, Jan.
I do want
Max?
to mention one thing is that in terms of embracing the module and getting the most out of it, definitely take a look at the external project, because you can take whether it's an elective or whether it's a key component in one of the levels, take that and you can take that, create a project, a written process, of written steps, of written accountability, and you can deliver that presentation or that session to anywhere outside of Toastmasters. And you get a chance to create a project, have your accountabilities, have all your measurements, and in a written document that, again, gives you new skills. So I'm a big advocate of at least having one or two external projects be part of your path.
Thanks so much. And as you
And I
saw
would
from the
like-
poll, there are people here some people are confused about pathways, some are novices, and the majority are intermediate. So I think what you're saying there gives rise to a range. And if I hear you correctly, I'm just picking up from Jan, that all paths start basically, the first couple of projects are the same. And as you move up to levels 3, 4, 5, in that path, then you get more specialized. Did I hear you correctly with that, Jan?
Yes, that's correct. Level 1 and level 2 are the same throughout all the different paths. And it's not until you start progressing to 3 and above that you start seeing a few differences. And so that's another reason why when you're exploring which path to take, whether it's your first one or your second, to check and see what those projects are and which ones you think would be the most challenging, but yet a little bit easier to fulfill, but will still provide you with the benefit that you're looking for.
Thanks for that.
Sally, did you want to add something to this? I
I was
saw you.
going to build slightly on what you had said about working the project, going through the modules. Even if we're on our second path or our third or our fifth or whichever, when you go into that path again and you do that icebreaker, read through it again. It's always good for a refresher. I find the information in each one of the learning modules associated with whatever path you're doing has fantastic information, and you really need to go through it. That said, if you come upon that project again in another path, or when you've repeated and you're doing another path, go through it again, because it's been a while since you've looked at it, and you will learn even more if you work through that process.
Thank you, Sally. A question just popped out. How do I get started? How do I just get started with pathways?
I'll
I'll
go
answer
ahead and
that.
start that. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
Sally, go ahead. I'll let you go.
The best thing to do is you need to log into Toastmasters International. Be sure you have that login, and if you don't have if you've never logged into Toastmasters International, you'll put in your email address, the one that you put on your form when you joined, and scroll down to the bottom and click on Lost Password. That will give you the opportunity to set your password the first time. Once you've logged in, it'll say welcome, in my case, welcome Sally. So I click on that and it takes me right to my profile. In your profile, you can purchase a path, and even if you're a brand new member, it says purchase, but you've already paid for it, so don't worry about that. Click on purchase or pick a new path, and you can go in and choose the one that you've already looked up and researched so you know what you want, or you can look through the individual ones and choose your path. Then once you've chosen your path and you've gotten the verification from Toastmasters that they processed that for you, in that same place, we call it your profile, when you click on your name at the top, down at what's the bottom of my laptop screen is a gray box that says My Pathways Transcript. Just click on that and it will take you right to your transcript. That's the best way to go. You'll click on Activate and then Launch, and then you will be in level 1, and you do the same thing on project 1. Activate, launch, that's your icebreaker, and read through it. I will say when you get to the part that says My Evaluation, that's where you stop and you do whatever the requirements for the project are. Pretty straightforward, the initial starting of it. Hopefully that made sense.
I just put a link in the chat. It's from District 4's website, and it's just a one-page PDF that's called a Member Quick Start Guide. It shows you exactly what to do to get started and how to get to how to take your assessment, and then how to get your first project going, your icebreaker.
Thanks for that resource, Jan. So anyone can just pull that up. That's a nice tip there, a nice resource for people to open up and to check out. Okay, there is another question following up on this. How many people really know how to use Basecamp on Toastmasters International?
How many?
Well,
probably not that many, but it's essential that you learn how. And please keep in mind that there are a lot of resources available. You can go into Basecamp and you can look at the tutorials. What I found helpful is just to do research and watch videos, watch the quick start guides, educate yourself, and get familiar with how to navigate the program. And if you have any questions, hopefully your VPE can answer them for you. But all that information is there. It's all available at toastmasters.org in the Pathways section. And I guess if it would be helpful, one of us could share our screen and show you if you like. Would that be helpful?
that'd be helpful, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, please do.
Okay, why don't you go ahead while I do that? Go, if you would, move to another question and let me get it set up so I don't waste time trying to get
Great.
in there.
And so while Jan is
While
setting
Jan
up,
is bringing that, let me make one comment. In addition to what Jan's about to show you, which I'm sure is going to be awesome, keep in mind that Google is your friend. Google Pathways and you will find a myriad of resources out there for Pathways. Just like the link that Jan had put in the chat earlier, there's a lot of stuff out there.
okay. So we're looking forward to seeing some of that there, and maybe, having you guys go through it. So that will help a lot of people who are just novices, or even people who have been familiar for a while. It will probably be a great refresher. And perhaps tied to that would be, what are the most common mistakes people make, and how can we help them avoid making them with Pathways?
I'll mention my favorite common mistake. I am under the impression that that level 1, project 2, is the most difficult project in all of Pathways. Not that it's hard to do, but that the process is maybe a little unclear. This is the evaluation and feedback project where you give a speech, you have it evaluated, and you apply the feedback from that speech to a second speech. But that's not all, because you also need to give an evaluation and have that evaluation evaluated. And so many people miss that evaluation part. It's very useful for us to be evaluated and then practice evaluation, because you learn both how to improve your evaluation style and also how to improve your speaking based on your evaluations. That's my choice for
Okay.
most challenging.
I'm ready if y'all are. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I've logged into my account at Toastmasters International and says, welcome Janice. And then I clicked on Pathways right here, and I went to go to Basecamp. Okay. And so because I am the VPE of my club, I also have an option to log in as Basecamp manager. If you're not an officer who has access, that would not show up. But here we are in this middle blue square or rectangle, and you click on go to Basecamp. And this is going to take you to your Basecamp. And you can see here under paths and learning that I am doing 3 different paths. I'm active in my engaging humor. I've looked at the other 2, but I'm mostly focusing on these curriculum here. Okay, so you have different options here, and you also have this blue line here. So it gets a little confusing to decide, where do I go? Do I click on these or do I click on these? And probably up here on this blue ribbon is one of the best places to go. If you click on paths and learning, it's going to bring you to this area here. And so I'm working on engaging humor. I've already opened my curriculum. I've opened all of them, but I haven't really got into it. But if you haven't opened your curriculum yet, it's going to say launch. And so then when I open my curriculum, I can see where I'm at. I can do a lot of different things. And I don't want to do a whole tutorial here. I was looking at the various levels ahead to see what was there. But on level 1, I've already finished my level 1. You can see these here. So now my next thing is I'm on level 2. And I haven't done anything in level 2 really, but this is showing you where you're at. So again, rather than you do a whole tutorial on this, because that's the whole other session, that's how you get into your Basecamp. But what I wanted to really emphasize is, and this is tricky, when you're on this ribbon, you have to actually hover and then click in order for it to go anywhere. Tutorial and resources. This is where you learn everything that you need to learn. You have resources that for some of your projects, you have to do a 360 evaluation, and they're here in all different languages. This is your project description, and it tells you when you click on it, it gives you information about what that project is about and what you have to do to complete it. And then it answers. This is one of the most helpful things here is your questions to get answered, and about verification approvals. And you can sort by, okay, that one is showing the different tutorials. And they're in different languages, so you have to scroll to get to them. But go through this, look at the different options you have for learning, and then you have the navigator.
Can I make one quick comment before you leave that page?
Sure. You want me to go back?
No, just stay right where you are. Oh, no, that wasn't what I wanted you to
Okay,
do.
I'll go back to the other
I
page.
just discovered, yes.
This one?
Right. Just keep it right where it is. I
Okay.
just discovered something really cool, because as you mentioned, when you try to go back to home, you have to hover over that and then go down to click on that. If you see, and you can't see my mouse, but there's a little house right by right at the top here. See the little house that
Right
says
there.
browse for right next to browse? Yes. Guess what? That takes you home and it's a one click.
Very good.
I just discovered that recently.
Okay.
Just
All
wanted
right.
to add
Well,
that.
I'll go ahead and close this, but I just wanted to show you. And if that raised any questions for anyone, please put that in the chat and we will see what we can do to answer those questions.
Okay, so based on that also, people are asking, why can't Toastmasters automatically update the members' education once a Pathways project is approved? What's the process for this to happen?
I have, and that's a great question. I have some insight to that. Once upon a time in a past life, I was a training manager. And I was over the person who managed the learning management system, and that's what Basecamp is. Basecamp is a totally separate system that does not integrate with anything else. So I'm also the IT person, right? It doesn't integrate with anything else. And so our system in Toastmasters International, it's going to take quite a bit of complex work programming and have those two programs learn to talk to each other. And while I don't know 100% that that's the answer, that's my surmised answer on why that doesn't happen. So what's the process? When you complete a project, complete a level, you hit that completion and your president, vice president of education, or secretary will go in, make sure that you've accomplished everything that's required, and they'll click approve. And then they have to go over to Toastmasters International under Leadership Central and enter that educational award. Unfortunately, it has to be done separate. But the question being, why can't they do it automatically? And I suspect it's because those two software programs are incompatible to talk to each other.
Right. And one other thing I'll add to that is that it's up to you really as the member to remind your vice president of education to get that award entered at Toastmasters International. So what happens is, as Sally mentioned, you finish your level within the Pathways program and it's marked and says that you now have achieved that level 1. But until the VPE changes it at World Headquarters, your roster will reflect you without it. So you want to double check after you've achieved that level that your VPE has assigned it to you at Toastmasters International.
Okay, so it sounds like, there are different silos and silos have got to speak with each other. It's different from the traditional program where it was all on paper and something visual you can see. So it'll take some getting used to, but that's a good tip on making sure that you earn your credit. That's great. So any other, yes, sorry, go ahead.
This is Pamela Williams. I'd like to add that I did check with headquarters and they did confirm what was just said regarding the two programs not communicating with each other. That's their answer as well.
Right.
And even though the VPE is going to have things in his or her box that indicate a member has completed a particular level, it is definitely, as Jan said, a good idea to follow up with that and make sure the designation behind your name is changed on the roster.
Right. And one other thing just to add, just that people might not realize, for those of you who use Free Toast Host, that particular platform does not interact with World Headquarters either. So it's up to the admin for Free Toast Host, whoever that might be, to change the designation in the membership roster because it won't automatically reflect what your levels are. And so if you're wondering why it's not showing up on Free Toast Host or your club website that uses Free Toast Host, that's why.
I believe that's the same for Easy Speak as well, unless they've updated it.
Right. One thing that the member can do to help out here is when you complete a level, you as the member receive an email saying, congratulations, you completed this level. And what I ask members in my club to do is when they get that email, forward it to me and let me know, hey, they don't have to put anything in it, just forward the email, comes up on my radar or the president or the secretary, and we automatically see, okay, oh, we got to do something here, as well as checking base camp, because obviously that's where you need to go to approve the level, and then as a reminder for the VP to go and update the award level.
I had a member recently who completed their level and fortunately contacted me. I got the notification from base camp 3 days later. So that happens. It's always good to go ahead and let your VPE know that you've completed it.
That's very helpful.
Mhm.
We need to stay on top of it to make sure, because humans still have got to put in their little bit of extra input in there. Before I go to any other questions, would any of you here in the audience like to just chime in or pose a question to our panel? I saw Pamela she added something, so I'd just like to open it up to anyone who'd like to unmute and pose the question. If not, we've got other questions that we can address.
Me.
Luz.
I would like to know, once someone gets to level 5, 4 or 5, those projects that are so long, it says do an activity, a volunteer or something for 6 months. Is that 6 months starting from that point on? Does the person have to wait 6 months to finish this project? Or is it something that the person has done before for a period of 6 months? I don't understand that project.
I look at that in a couple of different ways as VPE. I learned that from my own experience getting to that serve in your own, be a volunteer in your organization. And I got to that and I went, why didn't they tell me this 6 months ago? Now you have the opportunity to look ahead, which is always useful. So do look ahead, and also look at some of those things like the lessons learned from a project you just completed. Well, I'd already done the lessons learned. How do I do it again? So yes, that's a challenge. I would say, and this is Sally talking, this is not official from Toastmasters International, but I would say that if you're in or right at the end of that 6 month period that you've already done, fine. If you're partway through, then go ahead and use that, but wait till you finish it. So I would say either way, if you haven't done it, then you need to start. If you've already done it and it's recent, then I would say you could use that. That's my thought. We're all three of us VPEs. What do the rest of you think?
Also, to add to that, and what Sally is talking about looking ahead, one of the things I think that for at least for people who are new to Toastmasters, and when I say new, it's that they've joined when Pathways was the only option, but there are a lot of us who joined when we had the legacy program and we're used to a little bit of how that worked. But one of the things, if you want to get your DTM, your Distinguished Toastmaster Award, you have to finish 2 paths, but you also have to do a lot of other things. And if DTM is your ultimate goal, and I understand it's not everyone's ultimate goal, but if it is your ultimate goal, then you need to look ahead and think about what else do you need to do in order for me to earn DTM? What do I have to do? Are there any projects that I can be working on now that are going to take 12 months? For instance, you have to serve as a club officer for 12 months. If you finish 2 paths and then you decide to become a club officer after you've finished your paths, you're looking at another year. But if you're just starting a path and you're a fairly new member, or you've been a member for less than a year or whatever, whenever it's time for club elections, you might want to consider holding an office. The other thing is you have to serve as a club mentor or a coach. If you want to get your DTM, I would recommend that you sign up to be in one of those positions early on so that you have a long enough time to fulfill that role. You also have to sponsor a club or conduct a speechcraft or a youth leadership program. And you also have to serve as a district officer for 1 year. Plus, there's a DTM project that you can't do until you've finished your, gotten well into your second path. But these are all things that take time. And if DTM, as I said before, is that if DTM is in your radar and that's your ultimate goal, and I hope it is for everyone, then you want to get started on these early on. Back to you, Soraya.
Thank you, Jan. That's a very helpful tip for navigating your way in pathways. And as Youth Leadership Chair, I'm going to put a shameless plug in. If anybody is interested in conducting a youth leadership program, you can just message me, and that's going to help you as you navigate your pathways. As Jan put it in, if DTM is in your radar, that's one thing that you can also do.
This is Pamela Williams. If I could add one more thing. On the DTM project, you have to declare that it's going to be your project before you complete it. You can't complete a project and say, oh, I wanted that to be my DTM project. So think ahead on that one too.
You're supposed to get approval for that from World Headquarters. Something
Thank
else
you.
I wanted to bring up, and I don't not to interrupt you, Soraya, but the mentoring project. And just to remind everybody that once you've finished your level 2 in any path, you need, and you want to do the mentoring project, you need to ask your VPE to get that launched for you. And a lot of people don't ever get into that or do that. I had the hope that the VPE could just do it once someone had completed their level 2, but the member needs to make that request.
How does a VPE do that? Because I've been VPE and I'm going to be VPE next year.
Well, it's just like anything else. When someone asks for a level completion, you'll get a notification. So they would ask, they would go into their base camp and they would make that request to have that started for them.
They get an email from Toastmasters International when they complete that level 2. Then they get an email, you've completed level 2. Would you be interested in or sign up for mentoring, or you've earned the ability to have mentoring?
But the member still has to make that request.
Yes.
It doesn't happen automatically. Unfortunately, there are a lot of things that we would love to have happen automatically, but they don't. It takes participation from the member and acknowledgement from the Vice President Education.
And you also have to request it after you've, I think, finished a full path or finished most of a full path, then you can request the DTM information as well in pathways.
I think one thing that's really become clear to me as far as pathways is it to a degree it requires kind of a different way to look at your path through Toastmasters. There's a little more communications involved, a little bit more looking at the different tools that you can have. Definitely being able to take advantage of what the district offers. In fact, if you go to the district website, there is an excellent Pathways Finder tool for those of you that are visual learners. I happen to be a visual learner, and so I like the way that the Pathfinder in the District 56 website has laid things out. Like I said, I think a lot of us respond to that. And one of the things that when I'm talking to a new member and they're asking me about pathways, what does it really mean? I tell them to visualize a pyramid. The level 1 and level 2 are forming that base, and they're giving you skills to move up. And those projects, you want to really embrace them and do them completely, follow the instructions. And as you move up the pyramid, then the skills that you are looking for, whether it be engaging humor, presentation mastery, or project management, they're going to become really clear, because then it's going to start focusing in. I think Jan mentioned that the skills get more more focused on what you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Max. I see Eileen has her hand up. Eileen, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I have a question about the acronyms that you're using. I'm new to Toastmasters, and so some of the acronyms I'm not familiar with. So can you tell me what some of them are? And I know some of it's probably simple, but DTM and those acronyms.
Oh, sure. DTM is Distinguished Toastmaster. That's shorthand for the ultimate educational goal that you can earn once you've completed all this study. And when you've completed the 2 paths and the other things that I had mentioned, then you earn that designation. Within Toastmasters, when we had the legacy program, there were a lot of other acronyms that we used, like CC for competent communicator. Those are still out there, but you can't earn them anymore. I don't know if there are any other acronyms that you've heard that you wanted defined for you, but many of them are from like HPL is high performance leadership. And I apologize for using those. Some of us forget that not everybody knows what they are or familiar with them. Were there any others, Eileen, that you heard that?
No, I was just trying to make sure that I knew what they were,
Right.
So I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's all
And while I'm on, I have another question pertaining to the process with pathways. I'm hearing that it takes approximately 6 months to a year to complete one of the pathways. So if you're interested in mastering Toastmasters, and I know it'll probably take a long time, approximately how much time would it take to do that if you're already, let's say you're already a speaker and you've been speaking for a while, and you decided to get into Toastmasters and you have to still go through the pathways programs and all that.
Yeah.
So approximately how much time would it take for you to incorporate that to master the program?
A lot of it's going to depend on how much speaking opportunity time there is within your club. And that's why you might discover that there are a number of people who belong to more than one club. They're looking for stage time and they want to get it wherever they can. So they make a real effort to get that speaking time. In my club, Sugarland Toastmasters, it's a real fight to get a speaking slot. We try to spread it across the club, but not everyone gets their time as quickly as they would like or as often as they would like. So again, that's why it's important if you're in a club that meets weekly and also multiple clubs, you have more opportunities. And as far as making it through the whole project, I think Eddie Merle is on here. He could probably tell you how, well, he's a member of multiple clubs, so he took that route, but he could probably tell you what the shortest period of time has been for him to make it through a DTM.
Okay.
Eddie, are you there? I guess he's.
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, like you said, it depends on speaking time. So you have to, you can get through a path. I've gotten through a path in about 4 months, but that's because I am a member of multiple clubs. If you always just keep a record of what you need to do next, then you have to work with within pathways because you can you can complete one project in one club and then complete another project in the same path in another club. And then ultimately you'll have to decide who to give the award to. But I would say 3 to 4 months if you're a member of multiple clubs. If you're in a small club, you may have a lot more opportunities if they're and that's one advantage of having a smaller club. Sugarland's a bigger club, so it's very tough to get speaking time in Sugarland. So it really depends on you and how hungry you are, how quickly you want to advance. It really is just up to you and the amount of speaking time you have available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Yvette, actually in the chat, our program quality director also put a link to District 56 where you can see all the paths and explore them. I think panelist Max Lopez also alluded to that. So that's another resource there in the chat. We're coming up close to the end of the session. Max shared a tip as a VP of Education. Perhaps Jan and Sally, before we wrap up, could also share a tip, as you've both served as VP Education for Pathways. Is there a tip that you'd like to share?
I think the tip that I'd like to share is something that I've already mentioned, and that is to actually complete your module, to do it from start to end, to open up, to launch it, to do whatever it tells you to do, to study, to prepare, and then complete it. A lot of people miss that step. And as a VPE, my job is to go back and make sure that you have done everything that you're supposed to do. And I know our members hate it when I say, hey, I didn't see you finishing this, or I didn't see that, and make them complete it. I used to be a school bus monitor, and even though the bus was half empty, I made everyone sit 3 to a seat. So I'm a stickler for following the rules when it comes to things like that. That's my tip.
Thank you. Sally, would you like to share a tip?
I would again say do your homework before you choose your path. Look at levels 4 and 5 required projects and make sure that's something you want to do when you choose that path. And try to find something that matches for you. For me, that's the most important thing. My first 2 paths were based on, I'd just been made a team lead at work, so I did team collaboration, and it was awesome. And then I picked up strategic relationships because I was a division director. So 2 team projects, 2 team paths that worked out really well for me. And I was going to say something else, but it slipped my mind. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Max since we've got a red flag.
Yeah, one thing that for everybody on the call is I put into the chat a document called Pathways Checklist. And all that is essentially a fill in the form PDF that you can manage. Like Eddie said, you keep track. You might do part of a path in one club, maybe finish it off in another club, but you can keep track of the activities on a tool like that maybe you'll keep on your desktop, or maybe you even print out and have in a notebook. Find some way to organize the stuff that the activities that you're going to do, and make sure that you do get to that online activity that is in each that's in each path, that's in each level. Because unless you complete that online activity, then your path, that level won't close, so that we can move it on to the next level and we can give you award credit.
Thank you so much, Max and Jan and Sally, for all your wonderful insights and valuable tips on how to succeed in Pathways. We really appreciate you taking your time and sharing your expertise with us. Audience, if you could go to the chat, Max, Joe, and several other people have put some resources there for you. You can click on those, take a snapshot of the chat, and use those as you forge forward. I've also put in there a survey on the chat that we would really value your feedback, your evaluation, so we can plan better and how much this has benefited you, and look at how else we can plan to provide programs for your benefit. So there's a Survey Monkey link there. Please click on it and fill out if you can now or sometime later today to give us your feedback. Thank you so much again, our panelists, and a certificate of appreciation will be sent to you, will be mailed to you. Things are a little bit different on the online phase. For everyone else, we've come to the end of the session, and we've got a bit of a break now before you head off to the main stage for a plenary. Later on, we hope that you can also join the international contest, and after that, there is one more opportunity for an educational session before we wrap up day 2 of the conference. Thank you, everyone. And in the remaining time, if you've got any other questions, please put them in the chat. You can send them privately to any of the panelists or to everyone. You can take some time to do the survey, or you can head out to your next session. It was lovely to spend the last hour with you.
I'd like to take a second to say thank you so much, Soraya. You've been great moderating our presentation. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, great job, Soraya. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Mhm.
Thank you, Soraya.
Thank you. You're all very welcome. It was my pleasure.
Okay, I guess. We'll
Okay.
sign.
Yes. Yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
thought it went well. See
Yes.
y'all.
Thanks,
Take
team.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.